Hello everyone. Welcome to Youth Time webinar. Today is my first time actually, so be nice to me. This is my first time trying to interview and introduce our guest speaker. Today I'm happy to introduce Sayed Masoumi. He is a Youth Time ambassador, but also since recently he became Youth Time freelance writer, and he's writing about sustainability. You can find his articles on our website, youthtime.eu. Check it out. So without further ado, let's just start talking about your background. Tell me about yourself.
Hello, Laila, and to those who are in audience, thanks for sharing your time with us. So I am Sayed Masoumi, originally from Afghanistan, and I moved to Germany in September 2020 to pursue my master's degree in sustainable development management. And my career background is related to sustainable development goals of United Nations, SDGs. And I have worked in several organizations. Most of my career is related with ISEC, an international organization, which is doing exchange internships. And I also founded an organization in Afghanistan called WINDO. It stands for Voice National Development Organization. Our focus was on climate change, education, and gender equality. And now I am here also as part of Youth Time International Movement as ambassador for 1 year. And beside that, I am contributing to the Youth Time magazine as freelance writer. I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. I actually wanted to ask you, how come you told me that you studied international relations back in Kabul, Afghanistan? How come you decided to switch your major and start studying sustainable development management in Germany? How did that happen?
So, yes, you're right. My degree is related more in political science, international relations, with focus on diplomacy. But my career background, when I started working with ISEC and then WINDO, my focus was more on SDGs, different sustainable development goals, which is more related to economic perspective. Because my target goals were education, gender equality, climate change. Then I thought it's better to shift little toward economics, development economics, sustainability topics. And then I found this program online. So I just sent my application, and it was a long process, but successfully I got the admission, and now I am in my last semester. So that's it.
So also right now you're doing your master's internship, right, at the German Federal Association for Sustainability and Sustainability Leader in United People Global.
Yes.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yes, my classmates, they tell me like you're doing a lot of stuff, how you handle this, because that's a big question. Also now with Youth Time magazine and Youth Time movement. So it's all about giving time, like reducing my time from social media a little bit and focusing more on career and future perspective. So that's how I handle these stuff.
I see. That's really impressive, and I'm really happy to have you here today. By the way, my name is Leila Mekdiva. I forgot to introduce myself. This is my first time, so I'm a bit nervous. Okay, without further ado, let's just get into it. I give you the floor, and you can explain. If I'll have any questions, I'll just ask you as we go.
So today I'm going to give a short webinar about green jobs and its implications, with a little focus on India, because India is a big economy, kind of emerging economy with a big potential, so we will go through it. So the first thing which comes to the mind when we talk about green economy or green jobs, the first step is circular economy, which is also kind of green economy. So nowadays there are different words coming on newspapers, news headlines, or policies, government policies. For example, reusing, recycling, repairing, sustainability, refurbishing, or sharing resources among different stakeholders. So in general, circular economy in here, it's an economy that uses a systematic, focus-based approach which involves industrial process and economic activities that are restorative and regenerative. By this we mean that whether it's design, whether it's product, service, it should last longer, it should be more sustainable, there should be less waste, and there should be also waste management in place. So that's how we can define circular economy in the big picture. The next is about jobs, as the topic is green jobs. So in here, before going to green jobs, if we discuss brown jobs, there will be a good differentiation. So in brown jobs,
this is my first time hearing this, by the way. So
this is a new
this is
term.
something we don't talk about enough. So please explain what that means.
Yeah, so brown jobs is more like jobs which contribute to pollution of our world, our economy. For example, people who are working in fossil fuels industry like oil, or people who work in industries that they produce a lot of waste, or like engineers who are doing construction activities and it emits a lot of CO2, carbon, in the environment. So these are brown jobs. But there is green jobs. But before moving to green jobs, we have a concept of green growth. There should be a green growth so that you can create green jobs. So in terms of green growth, it's a transition to sustainable development, but keeping in mind that our resource should be enough for present and future generation. What we are using, benefiting now, it should also be the same and much better for our next generation. We should not just be so possessive and use it all for ourselves, for our current generation. So now when we moved little about green growth, then their term of green jobs comes. We have like adequate level of green growth, then there will be plenty of green jobs creation. So what are those? These are the productions or services which minimize environmental threats. For example, water contamination will be reduced, air pollution, damage to our soil because of agriculture. These will be reduced, the threats. So now green jobs, it's not just a word, it requires action. And green jobs demand from both private and public sector collaboration. From policymakers, politicians, they need to work together. And that's how it works. Even the employees, the labor who works in organizations, companies, they should have the willing to change the way they work, the way they think, the way they behave with the environment. So a shift to green jobs can have 4 potential impacts. So what are those? The first one is here, decrease in the number of labor from one industry and increase in another industry. What do we mean by that? For example, think about fossil fuels. When you lose jobs in fossil fuels industry, then there will be more jobs in green energy. For example, solar panels, wind turbines, engineering in these kind of renewable energy will create more jobs if we invest more. Or from dumping waste to waste management. There's a big change. How you, for example, if you do more recycling, reusing, then you can save more resources. There is also another impact. Some other jobs require reskilling, like construction engineers, plumbers. Engineers need to change the way they use. For example, nowadays there is 3D printing construction. They do construction of houses by the use of 3D printing. It's a new concept. It emits CO2, carbon, but not much, very less. That's an innovation in construction. And in future, we will see more of it. And it saves a lot of time and cost, 3D printing houses.
Can you give examples of countries that already implemented 3D printing and green jobs? What is the best example in your opinion?
The best one is in the Netherlands. They've already built so many houses for those who live on the streets, who are homeless. So they are doing that through 3D printing construction. Also, some occupation will vanish or they will be reduced. For example, packaging, Amazon or DHL, which is using that kind of packaging. For example, you buy a mobile phone, it has one package, again they put it in another package. So it's double, like waste of resource. So this will change. Or now, like they deliver the package through air drones, and for example in USA. That's a kind of innovation, save time and fast delivery. So we are changing. And another impact can be creation of new areas like controlling air pollution. For example, currently like Germany is planning to invest around 5 billion euro until 2025 on artificial intelligence. And that's a big move because the more we bring artificial intelligence in our working ecosystem, the more easy things will be. But it needs also again rescaling. Our human capital needs to change, learn new things. So these are the impacts of. Again, if we move a bit to the government side, policymakers, there is a debate between policymakers like moving to green jobs For sure, we lose some opportunities, some job opportunities, but there is creation of new job opportunities.
Such as what?
For example, I mentioned from fossil fuels to renewable energy. You lose engineers in fossil fuels, the technology, the machinery, but you're building new machines and technology for renewable energy. For example, now Tesla, a pioneer vehicle manufacturing, electric cars. Electric cars is going to be the future. Also, it's present, but now the number is less, and they have competitors like NIO or Xpeng, different companies, or Lucid Motors with the support of Saudi Arabia investment. They're moving to bring new electric cars in the market. And these diesel cars or cars with fossil fuels, they will be removed slowly. For example, in EU, there are some areas like green zone. Cars with diesel fuel system, they are not allowed to enter. Like in London, there are specific areas that they cannot enter that zone. So these are changing because it's part of policy also. Government should also step up. So in here, as I mentioned, there are costs in every change. But the most effect will be on labor because they will suffer the most if there are not good policies in places. So the transition to a green economy requires labor to transform and re-skill themselves from the sectors that face dramatic decrease in job opportunity to new green industries, as I mentioned. Now we are going to talk about the case of India. There are some statistics. I will point out them first, then we go to how the government policy works here. Is it successful or not? First, in India, it has the largest young workforce. 64.8% of population in the labor market, they're actively working, has the potential of supporting as a hub of human capital to the world. Like India in the future can supply labor to other markets if they invest correctly. 475 million labor active they have. 80% of India's human capital lacks market-driven skills. This is a setback, this is a negative trend. 45% literacy among labor, which if you count from 45% out of 100, 82% literacy is in male and 65% female. Besides, 92% of them working disorganized, informally, like traditional way in construction, agriculture, and transportation. That's also a setback. So what's the problem in India? There's a mismatch. Like they have a lot of graduates, but the market job requirement is different. So it does not match. And it creates problem in the long run. So what's the government policy? There are 3 policies inside India. One is industrial training institutes. It's supported by government. Another is from private sector, industrial training centers. The third one is a collaboration of private and public under the name of the National Policy on Skill Development, which was launched in 2009. It's more about vocational training, further education, and these topics for young people. But what's the common problem between all these 3? It's lack of infrastructure to fulfill the required vocational training requirements. Their infrastructure is not like balanced. For example, in Karnataka state of India, the education is much higher. Like here, despite the national skill development policy of Indian government, in collaboration with different stakeholders, whether it's a government institution or private, to introduce skilled labor to the market, has failed. What are the reasons of failure? Again, they focus more on quantity, like this many students enrolled, but they don't think about quality. There is not control management. There is also lack of coordination. These all are combined and fails the policy on national level. So, in a nutshell, India human capital challenges are, the first one is job skill demand and supply mismatch. As I said, job requirement is much different than what the students or graduates have the skills. Second is lack of university and industry collaboration. Industries, it's better for industry to share the information, the skills they want in the future with universities, so that universities change the curriculum of their study program, and that will help much. Third one is low level of student mobilization. Students, they don't have much freedom in public schools to do extra curriculum by their interest work. For example, getting into entrepreneurship courses or incubation programs to develop their own idea. Maybe there are so many green ideas hidden there. And another is lack of innovation in the economy. There is Bangalore as a Silicon Valley of USA, but Bangalore is a very small part of India. It cannot fulfill the whole capacity of India. The fifth one is not qualified and up-to-date trainers and teachers. They lack, especially trainers in green sector. Lack of infrastructure, that's also in place. Poor quality education because of high cost. If the public schools are not that much high in quality education, but if they move to private schools, the cost is high, and they cannot afford that. The last one is lack of connection between formal and vocational education system. In mostly developing countries like India, they see vocational training as something like useless, not valuable. They're more interested in getting degrees, like bachelor, master's, PhD. But vocational training for a part of society is also important to have a balanced labor in the market. So in general, there's a prominent lack of information flow about industries, skill requirement, career development opportunity, and new skills in the global demand side. If we think India as a hub for global supply of labor, so there is these problems. So in here I brought one slide about agriculture, because agriculture is the most labor intensive sector in mostly developing countries, and it also emits a lot of carbon. But there, according to International Labour Organization, about 200 million jobs can emerge by 2050 from sustainable agriculture, if we do sustainable agriculture. And many farmers in rural areas with less access to technology and today's demanding education, farmers lack these skills and education. In the agriculture sector, there is high recommendation on linking green subsidies with tax exemption for corporates. It's highly recommended in order to make companies stand by their own. It's better to lower the tax if they are moving toward eco-friendly environment, and or exempt tax for sometimes, or provide subsidies for their products so that they can develop much faster. So these are the recommendations. If you want to lower the tax, manufacture and selling eco-friendly service or products, healthy workplace for staff, keeping customers informed about sustainability issues, educating and empowering farmers, equipping farmers with sustainable tools and equipment.
I have a question. Is there another developing country that already implemented this, or is there no example like that? It's just a goal for now.
In developing country, I don't see it, but in developed countries like Germany,
of course,
you
but
can
I
see
just,
it.
Developing countries, because maybe if we can see another example with another, similar economy where they were able to take certain steps, I think that would be quite interesting. So for now,
but in developing countries, you cannot see
unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. But the developed countries, they are in these paths.
Of course.
Yes. So now we are exiting India case, moving to global topic. So what are the challenges on global level for green economy or green jobs? A skilled labor shortage globally in the green economy we have, if you think globally. Miscalculation of growth in green industries. For example, the investors, they don't think long term. They have doubts about investing in green economy. Absence of qualified experts. Still we lack some professors, you can call it, some experts in different green jobs. Not valuing key sectors. For example, in many developing countries, they don't value waste management as a business. In fact, if you invest in waste management, there are a lot of tons of waste around the world. If you can recycle them, reuse them, and sell it again, then you can have a good profit from waste management. Lack of teachers and trainers in developing countries, that's a fact. Less productive in multitasking. Usually the people nowadays, their focus is to do only one task. They lack the skill to do multitasking. It's better to be multitasking in your working environment. The need for vocational training in green sectors. For example, in Germany, there is Erasmus Plus mobility program, or I can say EU. So they are focusing on vocational training. The place I work, like German Federal Association for Sustainability, our focus is vocational training. for employees of companies to go abroad, work in another company, learn something, either it's developing country or European countries, and come back and share the knowledge with other stuff.
Wow.
So that's Erasmus Plus mobility program.
Did you do that or?
No, we are facilitating this project.
I see.
Yeah.
Would you want to do that? Where would you want to go if yes?
If I want to try, for sure. My aim is Portugal.
Oh, why is that?
In Portugal, I don't know. I like the place maybe.
I thought maybe they're more sustainable.
but I need to do more research. So because I didn't think about me going to this program, maybe later I change the country destination.
Maybe you could give an advice for young people watching this where they should.
From developed countries, it's better to travel to developing countries, and from developing countries, it's better to travel to developed countries because you will see the change.
Yeah,
if you travel developed country to developed country, you don't feel that much change.
Yeah, that's
so there is also a concern about government's policy for not revising and upgrading their policies, strategies regarding education. The majority of business in developing countries are SMEs, and most of them are not aware of climate change. Again, if SMEs get to know about climate change topic, they have fear of investment, they lack the budget, they don't take risk to move to climate change or eco-friendly supply or value chain. That's another problem. So in the big picture, on global level, there is lack of collaboration between private and public sector. That's a fact. Now we come to a little topic about tax, because tax is important, especially in developed countries. There is topic of tax. If there are countries, they say we will reduce the tax if you move to eco-friendly. But if you do not, we increase the tax. Yep. If you increase the tax, the company decreases the wages on the labor. And in the long run, labor suffers. But on the other hand, if government says I reduce my expenditure, but again, the whole site is not better off. So there is not a balance. So it's better to make decisions or policies wisely, not to harm the labor, because labor, they have very minimum wage, so they should not get affected. But it's better to change the structure of company, organization, or the government policy in the big picture.
And yet again, I have similar question, but what country can you give us an example of this tax reform? So to speak?
Again, because I've been in Germany. So in Germany, if you are having a business which is more eco-friendly, more going to green economy, like contributing to green movements, so the tax is lower.
I see.
Yes. So now, because it's youth time movement, so what is the role of young people? What young people say about these topics? So according to World Economic Forum survey in 2019, 50% of youth are confident that they are not qualified with the right skills. Like they lack some program softwares, or they require skills in the job market. They agree. And business leaders also confirm that out of 10 employees, 4 of them need reskilling, need further education. So in the green economy, technology is a bold topic. With the use of technology, labor can design, develop new machines, innovations in their working environment. But we should not forget about macroeconomic topic. In macroeconomic, there is concept of labor being mobile between sectors. Labor should be trained in a way that they can change easily from, for example, from fossil fuels to renewable energy with good skills. They are mobile, but they should be mobile with good skills so that they can shift easily. So it's also projected that by 2025, 85 million occupations will be replaced between human capital and machines. 85 million jobs is too many jobs to just replace human, for example, with machines, with robots. But also 97 million new jobs will come to life. Some example of these jobs that currently they are trend, and especially in developed countries like EU, these are top. For example, data analyst, data science, artificial intelligence specialist, robotic engineering, social media specialist, renewable energy engineer, biologist, genetic scientist. These are current trends in European. Like if someone is expert in these jobs, they have a good, like I can say, salary. They have a good career, and they in the long run also they can develop themselves and contribute to the green economy.
But okay, I have a question. That all sounds great, but let's say we have a person who, got maybe not even college degree, maybe only high school degree, right? And doesn't know a lot about data and AI. And what is he gonna do, or she, or they? What is the prediction? Because it's going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be lost, like packaging, for example. Then those people will lose their jobs, and delivery guy will lose his job because now we have the drones, so that all sounds great. And I think if you have the knowledge, of course everyone would love to do data analysis instead of packaging. But is there another example maybe, or plan from the government policymakers how to help those people who don't have the knowledge? Will they provide some sort of training for free, or how is that going to be?
Earlier I mentioned about the topic vocational training.
Mm-hmm.
In vocational training, you get to know very small tasks in more both theory and practical.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is to value vocational training or further education. If someone doesn't have a university degree, it's better to get into vocational training programs. In vocational training programs, in reality, they're being taught real skills, not so broad, specific, like being a plumber, things like that. Being an engineer, but a specific topic, like mechanic engineer, very specific. So vocational training can help, but later I will discuss some solutions, some proposals. And there I mentioned further research and development. That's a need, because you cannot bring innovation without research and development. Yep. And that's a must when you want to move forward to our green economy.
Will that be free for people?
It depends on the country policy. For example, in India, their national skill development program, that's free. Because they focus on bringing young people to vocational training programs. So it depends on country how they define their vocational training programs. The other one is, so why do we have these technology, these robotic engineering, artificial intelligence? This is all about innovation, developing across multiple sectors. But again, developing countries lack the professional and qualifications to adopt these new skills. That's also another major problem for developing countries. So here are some proposals, according to my research, which I found. The first one is mobilizing youth toward green entrepreneurship. For example, in every country there are so many public-private universities. If they conduct 2 times in a year entrepreneurship or a startup incubation program, collecting ideas, making groups, developing their ideas, then finding a sponsor for seed funding, and then changing this idea to a real business idea and a startup, that will help a lot. Because young people, they have a lot of thinking, their mind is full of ideas. It just needs a platform to develop that idea. So the first one is entrepreneurship, green entrepreneurship. The second one is adding new job positions within the green economy, and this requires, again, research and development. You need to do research. The policymakers or researchers need to know the concept, potential, context of their country or their region. Then they can see which new jobs can be created or in which industry. The next one is upgrading skills in available jobs through artificial intelligence and technology. For example, now we are using, when COVID hit us, we use a lot of Zoom, WebEx, different new apps came to the market, and we are using them excessively. So that's a change. There is a cause, until there is a pressure, then we find a solution. It's better to think that pressure is already there, like global warming, climate change disasters. So it's better to find through technology, artificial intelligence. Next one is fostering university-industry collaboration and educational infrastructure. It's better for universities to stay in touch with industries, with giants, for example, with DHL, Amazon, or Tata Consultancy in India. These brands, or on local level, different companies. Ask from them some data, share data. What are the future skills required in their area of industry, in their sector? How university can change their curriculum. bring new study program. For example, my study program is new. Sustainable Development Management came after in 2015 when UN adopted 17 goals of SDGs. So it's a new. According to a need, they brought this new degree program. So that's how it works. Another is increasing vocational education, apprenticeship, and applied science education. It's better to develop more university toward applied science, like University of Applied Science. Not just theory, it's better to integrate some software inside the degree program so that it should not be only theory, just memorizing theories, history.
Yeah.
It should be more like softwares because future is about knowing at least 1 or 2 programs.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
This was very interesting. I have one last, I think, question. How and if can EU countries help developing countries implement these, ideas, solutions? Is there already maybe a program that helps developing countries learn that, or maybe specialists from the EU are coming there, teaching specialists there? So tell us about that.
Yeah, for example, I came from Afghanistan, and there I gave you 2 examples. One is GIZ. GIZ, it's from the Ministry of Economy of Germany, or USAID from US. They are conducting a lot of capacity building program for women, for men. So that's one side of cooperation with developing countries. There are, for example, there is Global Environment Facility organization. They focus on projects related to environment. For example, they contribute on institutional capacity building, training the government officials to design new policies. But related to young people, I can say more. There was an organization called Garage 48. They came to Afghanistan. They conducted an entrepreneurship program. They grouped young people in different groups, asked them to pitch their ideas, develop it in model canvas. What's the idea? Then they had a pitching with the jury. They selected the best idea and then provided seed funding for them. And some of those ideas are now startups. So that's how the collaboration works. This Garage 48 came from Estonia. From Estonia, the distance is quite far.
Yeah.
The whole team came to Afghanistan just to train and contribute to Afghan young people. So that's how this collaboration works.
That's amazing. That's really nice to hear that there is, hope, because, of course, historically, Western countries, it's understandable why they already implement all these new ideas and programs. So I just really hope and wish that developing countries also will be leading maybe in the future, these changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's be optimistic.
Yeah. So that's it from us for today. Thank you so much for watching our webinar. We hope you learned something new. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions. If you are from any countries, really, let us know how it is in your country. And if you already had some training or you wish or plan to, we really want to know what you think about it. So thank you so much, Sayed. It was a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you, Laila.
And we'll see you in our next webinar. Bye.